In the last videos we talked about two prominent worldviews, and each has its own view of origins. Only one of them is well known, which is the naturalistic and evolutionary view. It takes a bleak view of origins, which alleges that we came from something less than human. If we follow that chain of thinking, our origin is stardust. Of course, that view must also be strengthened with local traditions and usually some kind of religion, because, by itself, it is very uncomfortable. It suggests that we are not important, the earth is not unique, and neither are we. This view is man-defined and cannot be confirmed. No one was there. The biblical worldview of origins, however, is radically different. The ultimate author of the biblical worldview is God, and we identified him in the last two videos. The Bible is his record. Bibles are found most everywhere, but the biblical view of things is the least known or is often treated as myth or allegory. Yet, it presents a historical record that states what happened at the beginning. If it is true, there should be evidence that fits the view. We will discuss the evidence in later videos. We must start, however, with a summary of some key points of this lesser-known view that are found in the first chapters of Genesis, which is the first book in the Bible. Recall our analogy, where God, the Creator, is like a master chef who is making a special dish, or all of creation. This video explains more about the dish and what happened to it. The material is also in Unit 1 and 2 of the resource, which is listed in the description associated with the video. The first thing to notice about Chapter 1 of Genesis is that the historical account of creation takes 6 solar period days. 6 days? Really? Consider this verse in Exodus chapter 20 verse 11 that confirms what is said in Genesis chapter 1, "For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that is in them, and rested on the seventh day." Genesis chapter 1 records each day and provides word patterns that repeat, leaving no ambiguity about the time elapsed. Matter, energy, and space appear on that first day. The earth is formed. Light is created. Some have called the earth, at this point, a rotating watery matrix. The second day the waters are divided. The third day dry land is commanded to appear, and God causes the earth to be filled with vegetation. He begins to use the word kinds on this day, referring to types of vegetation designed and created from the outset to produce after themselves. Or, in other words, they do not turn into something else, and did not come from something else, other than being the product of his formation. The fourth day he creates all things in the heavens, specifying the purposes and dominance of the sun and moon. The fifth day he speaks into existence everything that lives in the seas and flies in the air, and he uses the word kinds twice. The sixth day he creates living things on land, which includes what we understand as dinosaurs. Finally, he creates man, both male and female. The account is plain spoken, no gaps are in the language, and no hesitation or experimentation is suggested. The word kinds is used 4 times on the sixth day, referring to living things in categories that he defines. He specifies that each kind will produce after that kind. Species can develop, of course, but they are within a kind. By the end of the 6 days, a full habitat is functioning for man. However, man is given special attention. He is created with a likeness to God. Man, as male and female, is given both purpose and blessing as the crown of God's creation. Part of the blessing is to be fruitful and multiply. As we explain in previous videos, the God of the Bible is eternal, who knows all and is all-powerful. It does not take him billions of years to produce the heavens, which occurs on day 4, or millions of years to finally arrive at a decent version or model of man. There is no hint of experimentation or hesitation by God. It also means that the information that is in living things, and especially man, like DNA, was complete as created. God also makes several assessments of good during the days of creation. At the end he states it is all very good. No problems are cited, such as death, disease, and imperfection. Eternal God is pleased with the results. This is quite a contrast to a belief system that is popular that says it takes billions of years to have a self-made Earth and an ancient history that is filled with death, destruction, and, finally, the painstaking appearance of modern man. The second chapter of Genesis is as extraordinary as the first. It is a different viewpoint as God makes the reader an audience in a scene where he describes the creation of Adam and Eve. God sets the stage. He describes a region with beauty, resources, and a God-designed garden for man to work. God adds details about being with the man, having him name the beasts of the field and the flying creatures. God states that man should not be alone. He needs a helper in God's plan. So, we have the formation of a woman from Adam's rib, and God brings her to the man. The famous quote from Adam and the following verses illustrate God's interest as he defines the marriage covenant. That definition is repeated in the Gospels, where Jesus refers to the beginning when speaking of marriage. He affirms the Genesis definition. Chapter 3 in Genesis reveals the grand tragedy, which is in the first lessons of Unit 2 of the resource. In summary, Adam and Eve, the mother and father of all living, decide they believe there is a better way to be like their Creator but without Him. They disobey the only restriction God gives concerning partaking of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. An evil force, identified as an unusual serpent, later known as the devil or Lucifer or Satan, is introduced who tempts them to believe that God is not telling the truth. The tale sounds fantastic, but it is factual, to the point, and describes why Adam and Eve yield to the temptation. They choose to believe they can be like God without Him. The event is disastrous. God makes the consequences clear, and the chief consequence is death and decay. At the beginning, death was not intended, but now is inevitable. The Bible is clear that we do the same thing like Adam and Eve, because we have the same lineage and tendencies. All the information that God provides in the first 3 chapters of Genesis, then, points to a challenging picture, because it points to the responsibility of Adam and Eve, who choose badly. Sin, or going another way other than what God says will work, poisons the master chef's dish. The consequences are enormous and continue. God makes it clear throughout other books in the Bible that we are no different. This fact alone is a large reason why the authenticity of the Bible and the first chapters of Genesis are so disdained. They show that we are responsible for our actions, and we, along with the universe, are subject to the consequences. The biblical worldview, then, is the framework and foundation for why we need a Savior, and that story unfolds in the remainder of the Bible. In the meantime, and for the next videos, we want to examine what happens in the next chapters of Genesis. The information is important because it has bearing on the nature of man, what happened when things got out of control as his corruption continued without restraint, and what happened to the earth. The last part is important, because the Genesis flood event leaves a trail of evidence. The biblical view is quite a contrast to the naturalistic view, which suggests that life emerged by itself and we should be getting better. Is it true? History is a meaningful record that shows whether we improve or do not. And, we should be able to measure whether information and complexity naturally emerge without direction. We will get to these things in future videos, but we first need to review some more biblical history. See you in the next video. Don't forget to subscribe if you wish to see videos on this channel as they are produced. Information on the resource is in the description below the video.